Okay, let's dive right into this. Welcome to this explainer where we're unpacking a profound and honestly kind of intense framework for personal growth. We're looking at the architecture of mental liberation. Now, if you're someone who is deeply focused on maximizing your potential, you probably already know that the absolute biggest obstacles aren't usually out there in the physical world, right? They're actually constructed right inside our own heads. So today, we're going to look at the actual blueprint of our minds. We're going to examine these structures we've built up and figure out how to tear down the ones that are secretly holding us back.
Test your beliefs and destroy them if required. Just let the weight of those words linger for a second. Our source text doesn't exactly tiptoe around the issue. It starts with this incredibly stark, almost confrontational command. Notice it doesn't say to politely question your beliefs or, gently tweak them. It says to test them, and if they fail, you must absolutely destroy them. It's a pretty radical approach to self-awareness. We're treating our deeply held convictions not as these sacred truths we have to protect, but as hypotheses that really have to prove their actual worth in our everyday lives.
And that brings us to Section 1, the invisible mental walls and staking the claim.
According to the text, the stakes literally could not be higher. We're talking about your life, progress, your health, your wealth, and your relationships. The source makes the explicit claim that your progress in every single one of these vital areas depends entirely on this dismantling process. We're not just talking about being slightly more productive on a Tuesday afternoon, we're talking about the foundational pillars of a good life. Think about it for a second. If you hold a deep-seated belief that, say, money is the root of all evil, how is that invisible wall subconsciously stunting your financial wealth? If our core beliefs are flawed, the text argues that our health suffers, our financial well-being gets stunted, our relationships falter, and our overall forward momentum just grinds to a halt. So the crucial point here is defining exactly what is causing this stagnation. The text identifies these as mental walls, the limiting beliefs you have built around your mind. I really want you to notice the language there. Beliefs you have built. They aren't natural laws, right? They're constructed barriers. They are the assumptions we've unconsciously stacked up over the years, just brick by brick, creating this enclosure that limits our perspective and basically traps our potential.
To take them apart, we really have to understand how they trick us. Let's look at Section 2, the paradox of belief and the inverse logic.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how it exposes a complete paradox in the way we think. On the one hand, we have beliefs you think are true, but are not working for you. The text argues that our biggest enemy isn't some obvious lie. It's actually the belief we are absolutely convinced is true, even when it's actively harming our progress. We hold on to it simply because it feels true, completely blinding us to the toxic results. But then, look at the flip side. Beliefs you think are false, but are actually good for you. The text is telling us we need to embrace these. This is that inverse logic. What we currently categorize as false might actually hold the key to our growth, and what we categorize as true might be the very thing destroying our relationships. It completely flips your internal compass upside down.
Let's see how this builds into an actual framework for success in Section 3, the math of improvement, or the demolition equation.
Let's move to the math and see how this builds into a direct correlation. You can see how these parallel bars visually lock in the formula. On the left, we've got times beliefs are destroyed, and on the right, improvement in life. The source explicitly states these two things are directly proportional. I mean, really think about that. Your growth doesn't just scale with raw time or effort. It scales exactly alongside your willingness to shatter the walls around your mind. Imagine finally dropping the belief that you just aren't good with money. Suddenly your budgeting improves, your savings start to grow. That is a direct demolition causing a direct development. If the left bar goes up, the right bar rises right along with it.
Which naturally leads us right into the active phase of our mental construction project. Section 4, Seeing the Other Side, and the Action Plan.
Here is the actionable blueprint, derived directly from our source material. It's a brilliantly straightforward 4-step cycle. Step 1. Test your beliefs. Let's say you genuinely believe you're just not a healthy person. Well, test that. Don't just assume it's functional because it's a familiar thought. Step 2. Destroy them if required. If that belief isn't working for your health, tear it down. No hesitation. Step 3. Embrace beliefs you think are false. If a new perspective actually benefits you, like believing you actually can enjoy working out, adopt it, even if it feels totally counterintuitive at first. And finally, step 4, constantly break the mental walls. See, this isn't just a one-time spring cleaning of the mind. It is a perpetual, ongoing process of smashing the boundaries we are continuously trying to build around ourselves.
But what actually happens when the lot is finally cleared? When the dust finally settles from all this constant demolition? Well, the text promises a pretty beautiful, ultimate reward.
By breaking these walls, you get to see the other side of the world, which may have a better life for you. You get to step out from that cramped, limiting enclosure of your old assumptions, and you're presented with an entirely new vantage point. A broader world, rich with possibilities for your progress, your health, your wealth, and your relationships. And it's all simply because you were brave enough to bring the old walls down.
So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with the direct application of everything we've talked about today. Which of your true beliefs is actually a wall? Take a moment to really look inward. What is that one thing you are absolutely convinced is an undeniable fact about yourself or the world that is secretly the very thing holding you back? It's time to test it, and if required, it's time to destroy it. Thank you so much for exploring this with me today.